The clock is all zeros. Commanders fans are going crazy. Bears players are still sitting on the field completely stunned. They're looking like they just saw a ghost, but little did they know that things were about to get much worse. But to understand where we are, how we got here, and what was about to happen, we have to go back to 2023. You see, for Bears, this was a year of tenuous hope. Yes, it was looking like Justin Fields wasn't going to be their guy, but even through all that, the team still had some serious upside. Like, yeah, they had a fluke loss to the Broncos where Fields got strip sacked for a touchdown, and then they decided to not kick the game-tying field goal. They actually had this really gritty defensive game against the Vikings where they only lost by 6, the same 6 that was given away when their backup quarterback got strip sacked for a fumble again. But you know what? They were in a bunch of games. Like when they took a great Lions team down to the wire, losing off of a strip sack for wait, have I been here before? And then after beating the Vikings the next week, they actually came off their bye week, smacked the Lions on just a resoundingly solid game before going on and having another close call against a Joe Flacco-led Browns team who pulled off a sneaky come-from-behind win while ending their season with a strong showing against Arizona and Atlanta before taking on the Packers, who had everything to gain by winning, where they pulled off an 8-point win. And if you're a Bears fan, you would have been thinking, man, we are so dang close to being a contender. Our defense looked incredible in the back half of the season, and with the writing on the wall for Justin Fields, the Panthers securing another terrible season, which gives us the #1 overall pick. Even though we finished 7-10, we still feel like we're playing with house money, especially when on the draft board you had Heisman winning quarterback Caleb Williams coming out this year. And sure, the Bears picking a quarterback in the first round didn't work out for Trubisky or Fields, but surely third time is the charm, as they had selected their star right out of USC. Heck, later that same draft, they even drafted a punter, and guess what? Caleb Williams shot him a text saying, "You're not going to be punting much." What a great omen of things to come, Bears fans all thought. And coming into the first game, well, he wouldn't exactly be right. They punted 4 of their first 5 drives, and their 1 field goal drive only had to go 28 yards thanks to a huge 67-yard kickoff return. But in the second half, their defense and special teams clutched up down 14. They got stops on every single drive. They blocked a punt for a touchdown. They set up a field goal by forcing a fumble and even caught a pick 6, while also ending the game with an interception. So despite the fact that Caleb Williams only threw for 93 yards and a sub 50% completion percentage, hey, a win is a win, and at least he wasn't throwing the ball to the other team. And we could say that he at least managed the game well-ish, despite once again not completing a scoring drive of over 50 yards all game. But week 2 would start off as more of the same. There were bright spots, sure, like a 42-yard field goal drive followed by 2 punts where standout punter Tommy Townsend hit one short, and we got to see Caleb Williams navigate the offense into the end zone for the first time all season on this nice little 49-yard drive. And despite the fact that the Williams-led offense was completely spinning their tires in the second half, their defense and special teams was once again doing everything in their power as long as he didn't throw it well. Okay. Well, that one hurt, but there's plenty of time left. So as long as he doesn't do it again, okay. You know what? Maybe the Texans just have a really good defense. But then, to end the game, he would put together his first 50-plus yard drive of the season, showing some promise despite having to settle for a field goal and ultimately losing. But they would build on this. Heck, against the Colts, they got all the way down to the 1-yard line on a drive, and Caleb led not 1, but 2 really solid touchdown drives. So despite the first half hiccups, he threw for 363 yards this game, and you kind of just knew this thing was really about to start turning around, and by week 4, gosh dang it was all coming together. The Los Angeles Rams fell to the might of this Bears defense, who was starting to get into full swing, as the following 2 weeks after that were nothing but just magic. The Bears sent their thank you to the Panthers in the form of a 36-10 slaughtering, as Williams easily looked like the better of the 2 quarterbacks when facing down Andy Dalton, and their defense was just continuing to stifle any attempts of opposing offenses at playing in this game. Before they would head to London and show that same game plan, as now Williams was just frankly looking amazing. Sure, he had an interception, but that was paired with 4 touchdowns as he was torching this Jacksonville defense. So if you ignore the fact that up to this point, the Bears' wins came against teams that were a collective 4-19, things were looking up because at least they were beating teams they should be beating. And now, heading into week 8, they had their best challenge to this point, a red hot Commanders team. And not only were they hot, they were a reflection of the Bears, a mockery of the Bears even. I mean, this was a team who was in the gutter last year. They also brought in what many thought was a slightly worse quarterback between the two, despite also winning the Heisman, and all of a sudden everybody's hyping them up. I mean, they had a worse loss to the Buccaneers. They barely beat a struggling Giants team. They beat Cincinnati by 5, while sure, Daniels played an almost perfect game, throwing only 2 incompletions and averaging 11 yards per pass attempt, which is a little bit insane. And then, yeah, they also smacked the Cardinals and the Browns before taking another loss to the Ravens, where even there, Daniels still really hadn't had a bad game, and I'm not jealous, you're jealous. But the Bears defense could shut down anyone, and it was time to show the world why you shouldn't sleep on the Chicago Bears. Just because they weren't as fun to watch as the Commanders or didn't have as good of an offense did not mean they were a better team. And when the game opened up, everything was going according to that plan. The Bears offense was doing all, while Tory Taylor, their punter, was proving how much of a weapon he could be by putting on a field position clinic. That's all according to plan. And on the flip side, they were able to hold that explosive Commanders offense to a handful of field goals, showing that even at their most offensively inept, they were still within striking distance at halftime. And the second half punt-off was looking to say the exact same thing. Sure, the Commanders got another one-off field goal, but it still kept it a 2-score game. And the Bears knew that if they bided their time, something would eventually open up, and would you believe it? When you least expect it, Caleb Williams hands the ball off to Swift, who finds some great blocking and a 56-yard touchdown for the most explosive play of this game. And it wouldn't end there. The Commanders now were floundering. They would drive and miss a field goal to prevent a touchdown from bringing the Bears ahead, and although they were forced to punt, they would rely on that punt to set them up in great field position as Tory Taylor pinned them at the 9-yard line. After a 42-yard drive, that would be enough to force another punt instead of settling for a field goal, and now the Bears would really do it. The drive was slow and methodical, but slowly and surely, without all the glitz and the glam, they would seem to get down into the red zone, and all of a sudden we're on the 1-yard line in a 3rd and goal where the ball gets fumbled. Commander's ball. Okay, now that was a fluke, but the Bears defense once again holds on strong. So after another incredibly clutch punt, this time by Tress Way, it sets the Bears up just inside their 40, where now they would not be stopped. They make the long, tedious drive again like it's nothing, which is just the most Midwestern thing to do. But this time, they hold on to the ball as it plunges into the end zone. Bears touchdown, and they don't just score, but the icing on the cake is Caleb gets the 2-point conversion to ice the chance of some late-game heroics from the kicker. But bad things for the Commanders kept stacking. Eckler tries to return the kick from out of the end zone and only gets back to the 24, effectively wasting 6 seconds and losing 6 yards from where if he just let the ball go. And from there, another pass would go incomplete, wasting 7 more seconds before finding Ertz for 11 yards and using their last time out, before finding McLaurin at the 48-yard line with only effectively 1 play left in the game. And from the 48, we are well out of field goal range and almost out of Hail Mary range, since you want it to be a high arcing pass. But the odds of this being successful were near 0, and the Bears knew it and were soaking it in. A little too much, actually. In fact, one Bears player was even down in the end zone celebrating as the play was happening. So as Jayden Daniels scrambles, the Bear line can't quite get to him, but eventually he just has to let it go, and it was coming down short. The crowd was forming around the 2-yard line, meaning that even if this was complete, it still doesn't turn into a touchdown. That is, until a Bears defender does the unspeakable crime in Hail Mary situations and tips the ball up. Now, for those who don't know what the Hail Mary meta is, despite that one fluke Steelers play where the ball gets spiked into an offensive player who ran it in to win the game, the go-to method that everybody teaches for end of games is get in front and spike the ball down. This is to prevent exactly what was about to happen, which is that the ball bounces backwards into the loving and waiting embrace of Noah Brown. And we're now back to the beginning of the video. Fans are going crazy. Bears players are not just in dismay because they lost, but because of who they lost to and how they lost. And while you think this might just be a bad game, it was actually the beginning of the end. From here, the Bears defense would collapse. The Cardinals completely ran the ball down their throat. The Patriots didn't do much on offense, but wouldn't have to, as it became clear that their luck was completely gone, as they even lost to the Packers on a blocked field goal, and lost to the Vikings in overtime on a failed final drive, and the game immediately after would lose to the Lions, where they would get down to their 25-yard line before getting a flag and a sack, taking them out of field goal range to lose. From here, you could tell the team was just done. From 4-2 to 4-8, with the rest of their division thriving except for them, and they turned into full-on spiral mode, as both offense and defense looked terrible against the Niners, Vikings, and Lions, and I truly believe that this collapse from 4-2 to 4-12 would not have happened if it was not for this one heartbreaking, season-collapsing play.